So Asia took a complete dump on the market last night, and if you've been following the channel, you've been following the live streams, then you know that I've been a little bit cautious up at these highs for all the reasons that I previously mentioned. We were seeing some weakness up here at the highs. We were really struggling to take new all-time highs. We were breaking the high every single day last week, but not really going anywhere. So the market was really showing some weakness, and that is why I am short from the exact high at 73,797. And in this video, I want to talk about where we may potentially see a bounce. Did we see a bounce right now, at least locally? And when is it actually time to buy, in my opinion? Now, before we begin, I just want to say we have been absolutely nailing the scalp trades in the VIP Discord. My VIP members, if you know, you know. Drop a comment down below if you are one of them. We have been absolutely destroying this market. And huge shout out to everybody that's been kicking it with me every single day in the live streams on YouTube, because yesterday I said a big move was coming and that it was a very decisional moment where that big move decided to break to the downside. And so now we need to adjust our TA and adjust our daily plan accordingly. So if this big move is going to be to the downside, remember, we're at a very decisional point right now. If Bitcoin decides that it wants to go down and dominance is rising, kiss your alts goodbye. Kiss your alts goodbye. They are going to bleed if that happens. They are going to get destroyed. And as you can see, that is exactly what happened. Bitcoin had its move to the downside. Alts are bleeding. And in my opinion, it might not be the best time to buy yet. So we're going to talk a little bit of Bitcoin. We're going to talk about buying alts and when I'm going to be buying altcoins. But before we talk about the long-term plan, we got to talk about what's happening locally right now on Bitcoin, okay? And guys, I tell you this every single day. Your altcoins are going to follow Bitcoin, whether you like it or not. If you're trading any altcoin, you need to know what Bitcoin is doing. And right now, Bitcoin is getting a pretty decent bounce right now, very locally, off of our 4-hour demand zone that we were watching. So yes, we could expect potentially a bounce here, but what I have been basically screaming at the top of my lungs on and saying that everybody is way too bullish, because very simply, our 4-hour market structure has, for the very first time in a very long time, flipped bearish, okay? And yesterday was a reconfirmation, okay? We had another break of structure to the downside, indicating further downwards momentum. And in a normal bull market, I would say, okay, this isn't the biggest thing to worry about. Of course, it's still a little bit worrisome. However, when we go to the daily time frame and we zoom out, we can see very clearly that our daily time frame is very well overextended. We talked about this in my last video, and we talked about how the daily low, debatable, could either be at 38K or could either be down at around 50K. And so because it could be either or, depending on how you decide to draw your structure, price can come down pretty significantly now that the 4-hour time frame has flipped bearish. And this again is something that I have been trying to, what is the term? Nail to a pulp? I don't know if that's what you say, but I'm going to say it anyways. That's what I've been trying to get across to your minds, and saying that, hey, things are not as bullish as everyone seems. It cannot go up forever. So understanding our overall narrative and our overall bias is really going to help us understand whether or not we're going to continue higher or we're going to continue lower. Now, you always need to think, how is the market maker going to wreck retail? What is the best way for market makers to wreck retail? Well, we already know that we need to always follow the money, okay? We already know that drawing trend lines and whatever is kind of foolish in a game that is completely centered around money. Why would you not just follow the money? After we get a break of structure, typically we will get a retracement. Now, whether we end up bouncing from this 4-hour order block or not, I do not know the answer to that question quite yet, but time will tell. And so if we decide to bounce from here, which is as good as the place as any to bounce from, this is currently what your expectational order flow is, right? A lower high to then make a lower low to continue our daily pullback, which is very much so needed. And again, this is why I've been saying, guys, I don't even think the dump has started yet. So I'm not buying here, because for me, it doesn't make sense to buy here yet. So now the next question is, where does it make sense for our next 4-hour lower high to come in? And there are really two answers three in my opinion, okay? And remember, we need to understand always what is going to wreck retail the most. Right now, retail sentiment is buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. And part of the reason why I'm not buying the dip quite yet is because Twitter as I've said many times, is absolutely off their bananas. Okay, $74,000 for one Bitcoin and all these alts is insanity. So we got to pay attention to where the next 4-hour lower high may come in. And on first glance, I can tell you right now, we have a nice 4-hour order block right here at around $67,000. It also coincidentally coincides perfectly with our golden pocket 786. And so this is the very first place that I will be looking for a lower high to then make a lower low. But remember what I said, market makers are designed to trap your liquidity. They are designed to wreck you. That's what the market is. It is not a charity. And so what if they decide to make a run for this liquidity, because there absolutely is liquidity up here, one last time prior to giving us that major daily correction? And so that's why I will not be betting the farm short in this order block unless I see the confirmations that I want to see, because we could very easily come up and sweep some of this liquidity. Now, the lower we go, the less likely it is that we tap into this order block right over here. But if we were to sweep really any of these highs, and I see the same signals that I saw when we were up here and I shorted the exact high and we SFP'd, I will absolutely be looking for that lower high to then make a lower low. All right, so now that we know what's going on with Bitcoin and we know that your altcoins are typically going to follow Bitcoin, especially when dominance is on the rise as it is right now, then we can say that it doesn't make sense to buy here because, yeah, we might get a little bit of a bounce. Yeah, your altcoins may go up, 5, 6, 7, 10% from here. However, right now, the daily trend is very clearly up, but we do need a significant pullback in order for the market to be healthy, in my opinion. And so if we come back to our 4-hour structure, we have this currently. And for me, it is not until the point where your 4-hour structure breaks bullishly with conviction, a nice strong close, which will indicate to me that, okay, maybe things are going to change. Maybe they played this whole structure game to trip up the short traders. We've already know that the shorts have been getting absolutely destroyed, and we've already know that they've been disrespecting the daily time frame market structure, and so they may do the exact same thing on the 4-hour and just send it up. Remember, our job is to follow the liquidity, and right now, red vector candles indicate liquidity. And so if I see a clean break of structure here on the 4-hour time frame, I will consider buying. However, this does lead the door open to one last potential trap before a significant move to the downside. And I want to talk about that scenario right now as well. In the beginning of the video, I mentioned that the current daily low is either at 50,000 or 37,000, 38,000, depending on how you want to view the market, depending on your own structure rules. With my structure rules, your daily low is all the way down at 38K. And although that is quite far away, I do still think it's possible, especially if we're going to have a super giga bull market, super cycle, whatever. And we know that the market is very easily able to inject liquidity by creating a black swan event, which can send price down there. So while I do think it is possible, I do still think there is one last bearish case for taking the high again. So the market structure rules that I use do not actually allow this point to be a higher low. Okay, I don't do this in terms of structure. That doesn't look good to me. So my daily structure right now is just straight down to up. Now that we've had somewhat of a decent pullback, now we can say that if Bitcoin were to actually come back and take the high one last time, let's just say Bitcoin decided to do this for one last super trickery joker play to trip up all the short sellers that have been shorting this move down, what will happen is we will no longer have doubts as to where the higher low is on the daily term time frame. The higher low will automatically be wherever the low that we put in on this move is. And so if this happens, now, just like on the 4-hour time frame, we have flipped bearish, we don't actually need to go all the way back down to $30,000 in order to flip bearish on the daily time frame. We would only need to come back down to around $63,000. And remember, The majority of Twitter, the people that are posting the memes, the people that are saying buy the dip, the people that actually think that breaking the cycle is a good thing, which in my opinion it is not, because historically the halving was a bullish thing. However, now the cycle's broken. So what if the halving is not bullish in the slightest, right? These are very important questions that we need to ask ourselves. And so in the event that this idea happens with bullish sentiment through the roof, buy the dip, meme away, whatever, people are going to buy the dip. And this is the very first dip that we've seen since this massive run up. And so people are going to think, oh, it's that easy. All I have to do is buy the dip. But sure enough, what may potentially happen is we end up coming back down. They buy the dip. It doesn't dip. The daily term time frame flips bearish, and then we'll see what happens from there. But these are the three possible scenarios that I am looking for right now. And guys, you can't say, oh, he was bearish here and now he was bullish up here, because the truth is we are all given the same data. We're all given it in real time. And things change based on market structure alone as the data presents itself. So I don't know what price is going to be at in 2 hours. In 2 hours, I could be bullish. In 2 hours, I could be way more bearish. I don't know, because we are presented the data the same and we're presented the data in real time. And so absolutely your narrative can change, and that's something that you need to consider. But for right now, I am looking for, hopefully, somewhat of a bounce off of this order block, indicating that, hey, the TA is being respected, okay? And then potentially looking for rejections off of here to then look for our lower low, lower high, or I'll be looking for rejections off of this 2 hour order block to sweep some of the liquidity that's up here, or I will look for the ultimate fake out, which is sweeping the highs one last time, which in my opinion would not be bullish, especially if we SFP the high again. You know, if you guys have been a fan of the channel, I shorted here, 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 and then I finally shorted here. And the reason I shorted all those times is because I am aware that this kind of move can happen. I'm aware that the market is not a charity, and I'm aware that the market has been very charitable to you. But most importantly, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, how are your longs? How are your longs doing? Because I don't need to do that like some of you do, okay? I'm very content with my wins. I'm very content with my longs. I'm very content with my short, and I don't need to put others down, and I encourage you not to do the same either, because remember, the market can humble you just as much as it makes you feel like a god. Shouts out to the sponsors. Guys, if you lost money today, I'm very sorry, truly. If you like the content, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you don't miss my updates that I give every single day on live stream, like I did yesterday, warning you that this may happen. All I got for you guys, happy trading, stay safe, stay disciplined, and that's curtains.